Hi, parents and athletes. Thank you so much for your commitment to your sport by jumping into our athletic training quarter. I'm Jenny. I'm your owner, and I am your director of athletics at Actualize Sports and Fitness. So you're going to be spending the next 12 weeks with me and Coach Mika and Coach Blaine and some few surprise guests. So I wanted to just get on the same page with you all about what to expect from our next 12 weeks and answer a couple questions. Again, get on the same page. First question we often get asked is, why is strength training important to athletes? You probably have a somewhat of an understanding as to what's going on in here if you've already committed, but I wanted to give you a little bit more knowledge and understanding as to the basics behind what we're doing and why we're doing it. So first of all, just to reiterate that strength training is a tool for sport performance. It is not the end all be all. Nothing will make you a better athlete like doing your sport. So you become a better soccer player by playing a lot of soccer, but you won't also get stronger and get faster if you're not also working on two different ends of the spectrums, and that can happen in the strength training department. So what we're doing in strength training is we're working on your rate of force development, we're working on your movement efficiencies, your load tolerance, and creating just a beautiful foundation for you to go out and play your sport. This is just a tool for you. It's the most readily available tool, and I'm so happy that you're here. So I wanted to invite you into a little bit of a physics lesson. Welcome to the force velocity curve. Okay, so over here on the y-axis, we have force. Over here on the x-axis, we have velocity. And everybody naturally has a curve that they're working through. While you're on the field, everybody has a force velocity curve that they're naturally having. And so what our goal here is overall is to increase and move this force velocity curve to the right. Okay? What is force times velocity? What is the overall goal of what we're trying to increase? Optimal force and optimal velocity equals power. Okay, that's the most coveted thing on the athletic world. That is you producing more force into the ground faster so that you can be more powerful. That's the difference between somebody being slower, somebody being faster. Okay, is somebody who's a little bit more powerful, somebody who can jump a little bit higher, somebody who is a little bit more well-rounded athletic. That's what we're trying to do here, is increase your power. So over here on one end of the spectrum, which we're going to be working through, is max strength. That would be an example of a 1 rep back squat or a 1 rep bench press. I'll write that down. Bench and squat. How often do you see somebody bench pressing on the field or back squatting on the field? Never. But what it's doing is it's focusing on this super high force rate at a super low velocity. This is one of the training ends that we're going to be working through. And then over here, we have a vert jump or a sprint, okay? Which really, that does actually happen in your sport often, but it's not going to be the only thing that we're going to be working on. So just because we're over here, we need to work on you being able to produce more force so that we can create a more powerful athlete. It doesn't all just happen over here. All of this stuff matters. To increase your rate of force development, we have to increase on this side and we have to increase on this side. So what we're doing over the next 12 weeks is we're going to be focusing on all these little bits and pieces. So over here, it's strength speed. Over here, it's speed strength. What you're going to do is focus on every single little piece of the curve to create a more powerful athlete, to have it translate to your sport. Okay, that is our number one goal, is to have it translate to your sport. Couple rules that I like to talk about. There is no comparison when you come into this training facility. Everybody's on a different level, and it's my favorite thing about training, because when you come in, just because you have the highest vert or just because you can bench press the most, that doesn't actually make you the better athlete. And that is our number one goal. It is all about how it is translating to your sport, everything that we're doing in here. So number one rule, you leave comparison at the door. Number two, drop my pen. Number two is you leave your ego at the door. Okay, this is a place that you have to be willing to fail, that you have to be willing to embrace what it looks like to maybe not to feel silly, right? To jump in front of everybody, to actually try. If you're not actually trying, then you're not going to get anything out of this. So what to expect when you're coming in here for the next 12 weeks? First thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring every parent and athlete in on the very first day of training, and we're going to have a good quality conversation about what it looks like and what the expectations are. I like to tell kids firstly about their rules. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. Number one rule is there is no comparison. My favorite thing about athletics and athletic training is that just because you have a better bench press, or just because you have a better vert jump, or no matter where you are in your athletic development or your training career or your training history, there is no comparison. Everybody is here just to try to get a little bit better. We're all just trying to increase our force velocity curve. That's all we're doing. So somebody who's naturally a little bit faster or naturally a little bit stronger, that doesn't necessarily make them a better athlete. So everybody in here is just trying to encourage and motivate each other because we're all just trying to be better athletes. You have to leave comparison at the door. You have to leave your ego at the door as well. We are not ego monsters. We are not trying to lift heavy with bad movement quality, with horrible efficiency. What we're trying to do is get you better at your sport. And so you have to be a listener, you have to be a learner, and you have to lean on the guidance of Coach Mika, Coach Blaine, myself, to give you the guidance and have you have this, what we're trying to do here, the intent of strength training, to have it translate to your sport. So ego has to leave. You have to be willing to fail. Jumping ahead, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to try. If you're not going to come in here and try, then you're not going to get anything out of this. And our last thing is to be a learner. That all-encompassing things is leaving your ego at the door. Be willing to fail, don't compare yourself, and be a learner. And then you're going to do fine in here, as long as you follow our four special rules. Okay, 12 weeks of strength training. Like I said, the first day we're going to come in, we're going to do some expectation setting with the parents and athletes. And then your very first week is going to be a lot of testing. So it's called test, don't guess. I have to know your baseline. We have to know where you're starting. Please come to our testing weeks. I know it seems redundant, but that's the only way that we know is if you're getting like actually better at what we're doing. So we have to know what's going on. We have a testing week 1, week 6, and then again on week 10 before you go into 2 weeks of peaking. So week 1 testing, we're going to test your vertical jump, your broad jump, your non-counter movement vertical jump, your non-counter movement broad jump, a triple broad. We're going to do a 5-10-5 drill. We're going to do a max bench press, a max deadlift, and some sort of squatting pattern, depending on where you're starting. So that gives us our first week of testing, and then we're going to go into our next week, and that's when we do our individual meetings. I like to sit down with every single athlete, do a little bit of goal setting, hear about their nutrition, and just get to know them a little bit better. And then we'll have another meeting at the end of the 12 weeks, but there's always good quality conversations going on in between those times. So what to expect? We have training, nutrition, and accountability. We believe at Actualize that to be successful, you have to have all three things. You have to have training, you have to have nutrition, and you have to have accountability. With the nutrition piece, we want to have a little bit more of a redemptive side to it because everybody's starting at a different place, and I don't want to mess with a good thing. If your kid has good eating habits, and we just want to build on top of that, we want to make things just a little bit better, but it's easy to get into these deeper, darker routes with nutrition, but I want to teach these children and these young adults that nutrition is a tool for your sport performance, just like training is a tool for your sport performance. All these things can add up to make a better athlete, and as soon as they get that revelation that putting good quality nutrition into their body is going to impact them in a positive manner, then the better off they're going to be. But they're also young adults, and they're also, adolescents, and so I want them to have a good balance with their lifestyle, but understanding these very base foundational principles that good quality nutrition will get them a little bit better and make them feel a lot better as well. And then it's the accountability piece. You're going to have Coach Mika, again, you're going to have Coach Blaine, you're going to have me and some other people in here to encourage and motivate them. But really, we're trying to create a beautiful culture that allows people to fail redemptively, that allows people to have good conversations, that motivates people, that gets them to where they want to go. With all that being said, I want to have a little asterisk here talking about your athletes and their stressors. This is a conversation that gets to happen over our next 12 weeks, but really being cautious and careful about all the things that these kids are navigating, all these things that these young adults are navigating. These athletes have a lot on their plate, and so if we are not actively managing their stressors, their sleep, anything that brings you away from your homeostasis is a stressor. So we're talking about all their loads on them playing their sport. If they're playing more than one sport right now, or if they're playing their sport and their club sport, then they have a lot going on. And then adding strength training on top of that, all of this is just adding up. So are they sleeping? Nutrition also can go into helping them recover from all of their training loads. There's so many things going on for them. And then we're talking about a social life. We're talking about homework. We're talking about school. We're talking about parental relationships. We're talking about inter-peer relationships. There's so much that goes on to with these kids. So they're not going to be the same every day. And that again comes back to me leaving their ego at the door. Every single kid is going to come in and they might be in a different state every single day. And so we have to navigate and manage those stressors together as a group to make sure that these athletes are getting better, getting the rest that they need, getting the loading that they need, but they're also recovering from those things. So there's something called a stress recovery curve. And we can get into all that a little bit later. I'll put a link below if you guys want to learn a little bit more about the force velocity curve and the SRA curve is what it's called. Just to go into a little bit more detail about those things. But I hope that covers just a little bit as to what you guys are all about to get into. I'm going to send out a message about a band app. That's going to be our app that we're going to communicate with. And then I will see you guys all on our parent-athlete meeting on the first day of training. Please bring in your questions and concerns, and I'm super excited to get started. So we'll see you then.